Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video here to discuss. We got a couple of things to discuss, including a couple of game reviews from our past couple of days, some signing updates, some injury updates, a couple pieces of news involved in the Kraken's head coaching position, Jackets GM position, and the Utah franchise's new name. Plus, we also got a couple of trade rumors involving the Golden Knights, the Sabres, the Flyers, and the Hurricanes, which is all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the NHL channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank all your support and able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so let's not discuss today's video. Now, as usual, we're going to start today's video off by discussing some game reviews from our past couple of days. We had two games over the past 2 days, so for both those games here. First, in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Final, the Florida Panthers blew a third period lead, but recovered and were able to beat the New York Rangers 3-2 early in overtime, as the Panthers tied the series up at 2 apiece, going back to New York for Game 5. So very massive win there for Florida. Heavily outplayed them once again, but this time they were able to get the win. For Florida, Barkov had 2 assists, and Bennett, Reiner, who had the OT winner, and Verhaeghe were 3 goal scorers for the Panthers in the win, while Panarin and Fox both had 2 assists, and Lafreniere and Trocheck were 2 goal scorers for Rangers in the OT loss. As the Rangers lost in OT for the first time these playoffs, they had won twice in the Eastern Conference Final, also twice in the second round, and they failed to take a 2-game series lead in this series. So that's up there for the Rangers. And then yesterday, we saw in Game 4 of the series, the Edmonton Oilers overcome an early 2-goal deficit and score 5 unanswered to beat the Dallas Stars 5-2, as the Oilers tied the series at 2 games apiece. McDavid had 3 assists night, while Ekholm, Bouchard, McLeod, Yamark, and Draisaitl were 5 goal scorers for the Oilers in the win, while Ben had 2 assists, and Lindell and Johnston were 2 goal scorers for the Stars in the loss. So a bad loss there for Dallas, as they failed to take a 2-game series lead. So interesting stuff there. Panthers, Oilers both able to win and tie up the series at 2 apiece, now heading back to Dallas and New York. And we now know officially that there will be Game 6s on Saturday and Sunday for the Eastern Conference Final and the Western Conference Final. So interesting stuff there, but some really massive wins there from Florida and Edmonton. And then if you look at the game preview for the next couple of days of game action, later today at 5 p.m. Pacific time, we have the Panthers taking on the New York Rangers. Panthers are going to be looking to try and take the 3-2 series lead. Rangers are going to be looking to try and take a 3-2 series lead, so that'll be interesting. And then tomorrow at 5:30 in the Western Conference Final, we have Game 5. The Oilers and Stars are both also going to be looking to take a 3-2 series lead. So some interesting games that are going to be happening over the next couple of days. Going over to a quick signing update for the past couple of days. That's all the game reviews I'm going to talk about for the past couple of days. Today we're going to be looking at the 5 signings that happened between May 25th and May 28th. So we'll get to all those here. First, the Utah franchise has made another signing, as they gave an ELC to left winger Julian Lutz. Lutz was a 2022 second round pick of the Arizona Coyotes. Signs a 3-year ELC with a view of $923,000. That'll be for the next 3 years. Lutz last year played over in the German League in the DEL, put up a goal in 8 points in 24 games. This year, he played over in the USHL, put up 24 goals and 68 points in 50 games. Looks fantastic and could eventually be a solid middle 6-4 there for the Utah franchise. So that's a pretty good sign there for Utah. Then we saw the Chicago Blackhawks sign Zach Sanford, who was a pending UFA, who's a winger, to a 1-year contract extension with the AV of $725,000 that will begin at the start of next year. Sanford was this year acquired off of waivers from the Arizona Coyotes. Looked alright. In 29 AHL games combined with the two teams, he put up 4 goals and 10 points. And 29 NHL games combined with the two teams, he put up 6 assists. So it's a pretty decent sign there for Chicago. Stanford could be an easy bomb 6 forward, could be a call-up option. So it's a pretty good sign there for the Blackhawks to get some more add depth to that forward group. So solid sign there for the Hawks. Then we saw St. Louis Blues give an ELC to a center prospect, Alexandre Kaskimaki. Kaskimaki, who's a 2022 third-round pick, gets a 3-year ELC with a view of $870,000. They'll start at the beginning of next year. Kaskimaki this past couple of years has been playing over in Liga. Last year put up 3 goals and 7 points in 41 games over there. This year had 10 goals and 17 points in 48 games over there. So looks like a pretty good prospect. Could eventually be a solid middle 6 forward there for the St. Louis Blues. So it's a pretty good sign there for the Blues. Then we saw the Chicago Blackhawks sign Martin Misiak, who was a 2023 second round pick, who's a right winger, to a 3-year ELC with AV injured $80,000. That'll be in the start of next year. Misiak played last year in the Slovakia League, put up a goal in 10 points in 29 games. This past year playing the OHL, put up 23 goals and 47 points in 60 OHL games. Looked pretty good. Even got into a game of AHL action. Didn't put up a point, but looked pretty good in it. So it's a pretty good sign there for the Blackhawks to sign Misiak, and I think eventually he should be a solid middle 6-4 there for the Hawks. It's a pretty good sign there for Chicago. And lastly, the San Jose Sharks have officially signed Will Smith. We saw he might be going back to college for one more season, but he signs. Will Smith, who's a center, the 4th overall pick in the 2023 draft, signs a 3-year ELC with the AAV of $950,000 that'll be going to start next year. Smith has been playing over in the NCAA the past couple of years. Last year in the National Team Development Program, put up 51 goals and 127 points in 60 games. This year over the NCAA, put up 25 goals and 71 points in 41 games. Looks like eventually could be a solid top-line center there for the Sharks. But with Celebrini most likely coming to that team too, is going to be a fantastic second-line center for the Sharks. So solid sign there for Smith, and I think long-term he's going to be a fantastic top 6-4 for San Jose. So lots of interesting signs that happened over the past couple of days. Sharks are able to extend Will Smith, get him on his new ELC. Blues are able to give an ELC to Kaskimaki. Hawks give an ELC to Misiak. The Blackhawks are also able to sign Sanford to an extension, and Lutz gets an ELC from the Utah franchise. So some interesting signings from our past couple of days. Going over to a quick injury update for the past few days. Only one injury to talk about. Chris Tanev yesterday suffered a lower body injuries out for no period of time for the Dallas Stars. Bad blow there. Hopefully he's back for Game 5 for the Dallas Stars, because if not, that's a bad blow for Dallas, but still some interesting stuff there to see Tanev hopefully be back, but still it bad to see him with an injury. Going over to a couple of pieces of news from the past couple of days. First, we'll start with the head coaching position. We talked about this on Tuesday. It officially did wind up happening after I posted that video, but Dan Bylsma has indeed been named the head coach of the Seattle Kraken. So that's a pretty solid sign there for Kraken. We know that they recently fired Dave Hakstol, the first coach in Kraken franchise history. Hakstol had led them to playoffs one time in the past 2 seasons. A lot of people were surprised by that, but Hakstol did wind up getting fired. The Kraken wanted to go in a new direction, and they go with Bylsma. Now, Bylsma does have head coaching experience. He was an assistant coach for about 9 months in New York. He was an interim head coach for a couple of months for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and was able to become the new head coach. Was head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins for 5 years and a month. Was able to help them get to, I think it was this cup final against the Detroit Red Wings. And I think that might have been the year that they won, so that was interesting for him. So he was head coach in Pittsburgh from 2009 to 2014. He was head coach then in Buffalo from 2015 to 2017. Part of the long list of coaches Buffalo's had that have not led them to the playoffs. Then he was an assistant coach in Detroit from 2018 to 2021. And then he's basically been an AHL head coach for the past couple of years. Been with the Coachella Valley Firebirds to the AHL, helped the Kraken's AHL affiliates do extremely well, and now he's going to be a new head coach. So that's a really good sign there for the Kraken. Bylsma, I think, is going to be a fantastic fit for the Kraken. I think he fits exactly what they're trying to look for. Hopefully they're able to build this team a little bit better. I'm not exactly sure what the term was for his deal. I think it was 2 to 3 years. I might be wrong on that, but Bylsma is going to be a fantastic coach for the Kraken, and I think it was the right move to promote from within. So Bylsma is going to get a 3rd head coaching opportunity after helping the Penguins win the Stanley Cup, and after being one of the many Buffalo Sabres coaches over the past decade, and hopefully he's going to be the one to lead the Kraken back to the playoffs. So an interesting head coaching hiring there for the Kraken, and hopefully it's going to be an interesting one there for Seattle. Next, we go over to the Blue Jackets GM position. Now, as we talked about, there are a lot of potential GM options for the Blue Jackets that they could go into a variety of different directions. Well, they did indeed go with former Carolina president and GM Don Waddell. Now, Waddell, like we said, was interviewing for a job in Columbus. He does have a lot of experience being a GM and a president. He was assistant GM in Detroit back in the late 1900s. Then he was, for a majority of the Atlanta's time in Atlanta, he was their GM. He was their president of hockey ops. At one point, he was even the interim head coach. So that was interesting for Waddell. Then he was the president from the Carolina Hurricanes for 10 years, and he was the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes for 6. So he does have a lot of experience being a GM, being a president of hockey ops. He gets the title of GM, president of hockey ops, and alternate governor in Columbus. So that's a really good hire there for the Jackets to get Waddell. I think Waddell should be a fantastic GM. I mean, he built the Carolina Hurricanes to get to the conference final in 2 of 5 years in the last 5 seasons. He really built that Carolina Hurricanes team to be dominant. They've made it to multiple second-round exits. So as much as they haven't been to a cup final yet, Waddell has definitely made that team really good, and I think he should be able to do the exact same thing for Columbus. They're going to have a lot of options and a lot of interesting things need to work out for coaching. One of them to bring back Pascal Vincent on the roster. What about Laine, Merzlikins, Provorov, Boqvist? Can they bring in some really good help? It'll be really interesting to see exactly what happens there for Columbus this offseason. But now they at least have their GM and the president of hockey ops by signing Don Waddell. So figure sign there for Jackets to hire Waddell to be the new GM, and that seems like it's going to be a fantastic hire there for Columbus. So it seems like Columbus now is their GM. Now they're going to have to figure out their coaching position and the rosters going into the offseason. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And lastly, for the news portion here of the video, going over to the Utah franchise. And I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this, but a couple of weeks ago, the Utah franchise owner Ryan Smith did put out a poll giving fans options to pick, I think it was out of like 20 or 22 names, what the Utah franchise's name should be. Said there was going to be a second round coming up later in the summer. He also said that they'll most likely have no team name for the first season. Now I think this is probably a little bit different, but they're definitely not going to have a jersey with a logo on it. They'll just have the words Utah on their jersey names. So that's interesting to note. But recently the poll ended, I think it was like a week ago, back on May 22nd. But recently, I think it was yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, Ryan Smith made an impromptu video call saying that they have their 4 team names that are going to, their 4 finalists, you could say, for the new franchise. He included saying that the Yeti are one of the finalists, the Mammoth are one of the finalists. Not sure what the other 2 are, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what the final 4 are for the team name. Now, what my personal opinion on this is, they'll be able to get a team name and like a nickname and a logo potentially even before the season starts, but just to get to the jersey, the logo and everything else like that, it would be too hard in the short time frame that they have before they needed all the jersey info. So I think there's a very likely chance we see that Utah be on the team name for the first season, and then they'll go to a logo in the second season. But I think it's still potentially a possibility we could have a team nickname and a logo before the season starts. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there, but it seems like Yeti's a finalist, Mammoth is a finalist. I hope one of the names that could be included with a B logo, because it's the Beehive State. I hope one of those are in the finalists. I know Outlaw was one that a lot of people were liking, so maybe that's a finalist. I'm not exactly sure what finalists are there, but I do think this is going to be an interesting situation that we're going to have to watch out for in the coming weeks. I think if they're able to have a logo or nickname before the draft comes out, I think that'll be fantastic. If not, then hopefully sometime later in the summer, they'll have a new name and they can have a logo that work for the first season, even if it's not on the jersey. So I'll have to wait and see on that. And lastly, going over to the trade rumor part of the video. Now, there's been a lot of speculation from the past couple of days. We'll start with the Golden Knights. Apparently, Jonathan Marchessault, who did a recent interview, is saying that he's sort of confused or unhappy that the Golden Knights have not even started to talk about a contract extension with him. Now, in my opinion, that's really, really bad news for the Golden Knights. I think Marchessault is probably the biggest UFA. They need to sign him. Now, they don't have a lot of cap space, but if Leonard is long-term injury bound, then they can place his contract in long-term injury reserve. That would still not give them enough to sign Marchessault. They would still need to move a guy like McNabb or Haig. But we've seen in years past that the Knights are an aggressive bunch trying to win whenever they can, except I think that keeping Marchessault will probably be the best way to win. So to see them not, at this point in time, even start contract negotiations with him when we're about a month away from free agency is really bad news. So I think that the Golden Knights need to try and figure out what they're going to do with Marchessault, because I think Marchessault is probably the biggest UFA, and I think they would love to keep him, but given the fact they haven't even started contract talks with him, I'm starting to doubt that. So is Marchessault going to remain in Vegas? Is he going to leave? It seems like more likely that he's going to leave right now. Apparently a team who could have some major interest in Marchessault if he was to hit the free agent market would be Utah. The new Utah franchise may have a lot of interest in Marchessault to be a solid top 6 winger there, so that could be a really good fit. I think Marchessault will be able to get what he wants from Utah, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there for the Golden Knights. But it sounds like Marchessault and the Golden Knights at this point in time are not talking contract extension, and there's a very likely chance that the Golden Knights wind up letting Marchessault walk, so we'll have to stay on that. According to a couple of reports also, there's a lot of teams who have some interest in Buffalo Sabres defenseman Mattias Samuelsson. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise to me, but I can see why. The Sabres already have a left shot defenseman in Power, a left shot defenseman in Byram, a left shot defenseman in Dahlin, and a left shot defenseman in Samuelsson, who are all on the the top 4. So could they be looking to move maybe one of those left shot defensemen to try and get a right shot defenseman? Maybe, but on top of that, Samuelsson's probably the best defensive defenseman of those 4 guys. Byram, Dahlin, Power, all really good offensive defensemen, but they're not the best defensively. So there's been a lot of talk that Kevyn Adams does not want to trade Samuelsson, and I think unless he finds a fantastic deal, then I don't think that Samuelsson will be moved. He's got, I think, 6 or 7 years left on his contract with an AAV of $4 million, which I think at this point in time, with the way Samuelsson's played, is a steal in my opinion for Buffalo. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if they are able to move Samuelsson, get a guy who's still on the younger side of things, can play top 4 minutes, is on the right side, maybe it makes sense for the Sabres to make that sort of a move. But I think if they were to just move on from him and not get a whole really good return for Samuelsson, then I don't think it really makes much sense for the Sabres. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there, but apparently some teams are calling on Mattias Samuelsson, and personally I don't think they'll move him. It sounds like Kevyn Adams doesn't want to move him, but if they do find extremely good asking price, maybe there's a possibility that he gets moved, so we'll have to wait and see on that. There's also been some updates on the Travis Konecny contract talks. Now we know we talked about this for a while. If we talked about this about a year and a half ago, a lot of people were going to be thinking that Konecny was going to get moved by Philadelphia Flyers. He was going to find a new place. The Flyers are going to move on from him, but after the season he had this past year, showing how important he is to that Philadelphia Flyers team, it seems like he's going to definitely be remaining in Philadelphia. Now, given that fact, there seems that they'll be looking for contract extension talks, and it seems like it's going to a similar place where William Nylander's contract talks were going last year. It sounds like, according to Anthony DeMarco, Travis Konecny is looking for $10 million on a new contract extension, and the Flyers are looking for $8 million. It sounds like eerily similar to what Nylander and the Leafs are doing. At the very start of the negotiations, Nylander wanted 10, and the Leafs wanted 8, and they were not able to come to terms on an extension until middle of the third season, when it was eventually, I think it was $11.25 million. So not exactly sure how this one will fill out. I know Konecny really wants to remain in Philadelphia. The Flyers absolutely love Konecny. He's sort of a Philadelphia Flyer type player. They would love to keep him, although I'm not exactly sure if keeping him at that sort of a price tag at $10 million will be a smart move for a Philadelphia Flyers team who's still in a rebuild mode right now. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there for the Flyers, but it sounds like Konecny wants $10 million. Sounds like the Flyers want $8 million. Do they meet in the middle at somewhere around $9 million? Or is this going to be another long contract negotiations like we saw with Nylander last year? So we'll have to wait and see on that. And lastly, Elliot Friedman was talking about Martin Necas. He says that the Carolina Hurricanes are open to moving Necas. He says that even though he's interim GM right now, even though some people think he should be the GM right now, Eric Tulsky, Elliot Friedman did say, has permission to make a big Necas move if necessary, if they don't have a GM in place before a deal could be done. So it's quite possible we could see Necas trade in the not too distant future. Teams who I've seen be linked to Necas, one would be Calgary. We talked about this about a week ago. Flames definitely seem to have some interest in Necas. We know they're looking for some more younger players who can help them in their retool phase right now. I think Necas could be a fantastic top 6 forward with guys like Kadri, Huberdeau, Zary, Pelche. I think that could be a fantastic top 6 forward there for Calgary. We know we talked about Vancouver this past week. We know they can move Veronic. They can make a decent package. We know they're looking for a winger for Pettersson, so Necas could be a fantastic piece there for him. A couple of other teams that I've seen be linked to the Necas would be Seattle Kraken. Kraken seem to be having some interest in Necas. We know they're looking for some more goal scoring help. Necas could definitely provide that. They have a lot of interesting forward prospects. I think could intrigue Carolina, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but I think there's a very likely chance Seattle could be in on that. Utah franchise, they have a lot of cap space to work with. We know they want to try and improve their team. Necas could be a solid top 6 forward. They have the cap space to pay Necas whatever he wants. So I think there's a very likely chance that we could see Necas trade not just in the future, even if Eric Tulsky is still the interim GM. And it seems like teams like Utah, Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle could all have a lot of major interest in a guy like Martin Necas. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there. But that's what I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of this down in the comment section below. Do you see Martin Necas being moved? Do you see it happening not just in the future? And if so, where does he go and what this is a trade package back to Carolina? Do you see Konecny signing for $10 million in Philadelphia? Or do you think that's a little bit unreasonable and they'll try and meet somewhere in the middle, given the fact Philly's looking at for $8 million on a Konecny extension right now? Do you see Marchessault remaining in Vegas? Or do you think that they've already boxed him out? And if so, where's Marchessault going for agency? And what do you think about Samuelsson? Do you think he winds up staying in Buffalo? Or do you think that the Sabres get a really good asking price that they move Samuelsson? Definitely. Let's hear your thoughts on all of that. Plus, what do you think about Bylsma being head coach, Waddell being GM in Seattle and Columbus respectively? What do you think about the new Utah franchise name potentialities? And what do you think about the signings, injury updates, and game reviews from over the past couple of days? Definitely. Let's hear your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're related, subscribe down below. Thank you for your support, and I will do it with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so someone else gets today's video. Also a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so if you check that out, I'll leave a link in the description below, and can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.